The Labour Party is currently in a dispute with one of its biggest funders, Unite the Union. Unite represent bin collectors in Coventry who are on strike for higher wages. Their employer, a Labour council, have in response to the strike hired a private bin collection firm to collect the town's rubbish, essentially bringing in scab Labour. Now, Sharon Graham, Unite's General Secretary, has said unless the council changes its approach, her union may withhold all funding from the National Labour Party. Starmer was in nearby Erdington today and spoke to BBC Radio Coventry.
In relation to the strike, it's obviously industrial action. And what I want to see is what pretty well everybody wants to see, which is an end to the dispute. That's only going to happen if both sides are talking. They are talking at the moment, and I hope that resolves the issue because, that's the best thing in relation to this industrial dispute and most industrial disputes. On the funding, I don't think an industrial dispute in Coventry should influence relations between the Labour Party and its trade unions, its affiliated trade unions. So it's very important I make that clear as well.
I don't think an industrial dispute in Coventry should influence the relationship between Labour and the unions. This is a place, by the way, which, Labour shouldn't take for granted. Lots of those seats were very close at the last general election. He's speaking to Radio Coventry. The point he was trying to make, there was a different way to make it than scoffing at anyone thinking that a dispute in Coventry could have any national significance.
I didn't realise he was speaking to Radio Coventry, actually. That is just so awful. The disdain is just awful. Oh my God, I was mortified. But the disdain there, the disdain dripping from his lips, it's not just for the people of Coventry, for people outside of his Westminster bubble. It's also for workers. It's also, for this idea that, a couple of workers in Coventry not going to decide how I run my party. Well, maybe if they did decide how you ran your party, maybe your party would be doing a little bit better. But I think also this is a vindication in many ways for Sharon Graham. Many people saw a lot of her campaign for Unite General Secretary was built on this idea of, I'm interested in organizing workplaces. I'm not interested in just getting involved in Labour Party politics for the sake of it. And a lot of her logic behind that was this idea of, look, the Labour Party is taking our membership, taking our workers for granted. And it is important that we don't just see exercises of power as backroom deals, as comms, as sort of talking to people behind closed doors, but actually doing a public exercise of power to say, you cannot take these constituencies for granted. And, we've had a lot of conversations over the past, probably since 2019, even before then, talking about, who does Labour have to win over in order to not see a repeat of the 2019 election? Those are really valid and important questions. But it's really important in those conversations to not lose sight of who you have always needed to win. And workers, trade unionists, organised Labour, that is essential to Labour winning any election in the future. And so for me, that disdain for organised Labour, that inability to come down squarely on the side of Labour, even though you are literally the leader of the Labour Party, that is another dimension here, as well as the obvious geographical element, which is that people rightly have felt that the Labour Party, that political parties in general, have seen Westminster as the main place where politics happens. And the rest of the country is kind of a peripheral hinterland that you venture into for a few months before each election. Well, that mentality is not going to win anymore, because I think people are very attuned and very aware that they deserve better than that. So terrible media performance. But it's not just a terrible media performance, it's indicative of a deeper ideological problem that is still undergirding the Labour Party.